presenting to us, and really, really appreciate it. We get a lot of comments on your videos, and your videos are quite a lot more popular than some of ours. So we're really happy to have you continue to give us presentations. Unfortunately, we don't get an option or a lot of time to go back through those comments. So I don't know if you ever go back through any of your videos or anything, but there's always people asking questions and just saying the same thing. You definitely know what you're talking about, and they definitely appreciate it. So. All right. We just went live on YouTube, so we have a few people here. Really do appreciate that. We can hang out for a little bit here, but we were just talking about some of the local news here in Colorado. But if anybody has anything, this is just a general Q&A about ham radio, STEM, science. Well, let us know.
When is the Hamfest up north? Is it in October sometime?
Let's see. It'd either be the NCARC or the...
Or is it Lark?
Let me see.
And while you're busy looking, I get to complain that I have to put all my antennas back up again. I had roofing and some work done on window trim and stuff, and so I had to take down all my antennas. Now I got to put them all back up.
Oh,
Sparkfest, yeah. There it is. Thank you.
Yeah, Parkfest, no problem. Yeah, when was last time you had put them? When did you put them up originally?
Oh, years ago, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, that's not entirely true. I bought the ICOM with the 23 centimeters, so I had to replace the antenna a couple of years ago.
Oh, okay. Is that a J-pole or?
Oh no! It's a tri-bander.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Yeah, hopefully these things you think is set it and forget it, but life comes up and Are you thinking about doing any changes potentially? Any adjusting now that?
Yep.
Yeah.
The infed half wave is getting raised considerably. Slightly different direction around the house.
Okay. That should give you better directionality on some of the bands that you're looking at.
No, but it will get me a lot higher off the ground.
Oh, okay. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
John, you're on mute.
And Tom, is your stuff roof mounted?
Yeah. Well, I'm in an HOA, so it's somewhat stealth, but it is it's mounted on the garage roof.
Gotcha.
That is lower than the second story, which is where I am right now.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Out of sight, out of mind, and Krylon brown camouflage paint is a wonderful product.
How do you have to route the feed lines in?
Don't have to, because they're black and they're pretty hard to spot.
You bring them in through an eave, or?
Oh no, I one of the infamous MFJ chunks of wood that have a pass through drill holes and have the plates on it. Those actually work pretty well.
Well, cool. Yeah, good luck with that. Hopefully there's no issues that go with that. Nothing breaks, and you're back on the air. Yeah.
It'll be up.
Yeah. How long did it take you to disassemble it?
Well, that was amazing. It took me actually several days to kind of, because I had to crawl around on the roof to do it. And at my age, I don't crawl around on the roof real fast.
Good idea.
Yeah. Hopefully no inclement weather or anything. Not a good time to do that either.
No.
Well, cool. Yeah.
But hopefully we won't have any more hailstorms this year. And I'll be quiet now because you have several people in here that maybe somebody has a question or something important to say.
No problem. Yeah, tons of crazy weather out here. Lots of lightning storms, thunder, and hail. Crazy stuff. So yeah, appreciate everyone joining here. We got Tom, Jeff, John, Jay, K0LJW, and Kevin Schmidt, K0KPS. Thank you all so much for joining here. This is the just an Elmer session, just a general Q&A about ham radio. Oh, and Ben, it looks like just joined here again. Appreciate everyone joining. If you have any comments, questions, let us know. I can bring up some news stories or projects or questions people have brought up recently, and anything else. But this is an hour or so long meeting. We have another 55 minutes. If anybody has anything, let us know.
Where is the feature here in Google Meet to turn your call sign on after your name?
That comes from like the highest level Google profile information. You have to go to your Google profile and change your name. Essentially, people add that as like a last name, essentially. So
it isn't a feature here on the operating screen.
I don't think so. No.
It is in Zoom. I just didn't know what it was here.
Yeah, you got to go all the way back out, your Google account.
No problem.
Let's see, if you sign in, or if you log in within or if you go to the Meet link in a private window, you can put in whatever you want without changing a bunch of stuff, but that's another way to do it. What else here? Again, we're streaming on youtube.com/Denver Radio Club. If you've missed any of our meetings or nets, things like that, things are streamed and archived on there, so check that out. John's presentation will be available there. Right on our front page as well as his webpage, W6MDC. He has the presentation for this evening. Let's see. These will be the presentation slides if you want, and then just his website, w6nbc.com, for more information on him.
I'll just do a quick tutorial here
Yeah.
on, hang on just a second. So for instance, if you go to this thing and go into account and then personal info is where you change it here. If you just have your name in there, you can put your name in with your call sign, and that's where you can change that. FYI.
All right, thanks, Jeff. Yeah, they're trying to maybe build parity up to the feature sets with Zoom. They're definitely getting more features in here than we've had before, but ease of use maybe isn't as great with Zoom potentially.
I'll tell you, I do a lot of other platforms in my meetings, and Google Meet always works. The others, even Zoom,
Yeah, gotcha.
we have issues with. And Teams, I despise. I hate Teams.
Yeah, that seems to be the lesser of all of them that are used now, for sure.
Which one is that?
Microsoft Teams?
Oh, Teams.
Well, no, we use it quite a bit. It's a lot of government uses Teams.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Back to Jeff's comment on Teams and Zoom, and I agree with you, Jeff. We use both of those myself a lot, and I have to support it. And what I've found is that they have so much capability on those two platforms that I think that's what's driving a lot of the frustration.
Well, and Teams works well if it's an enterprise standard, you're doing stuff internally, but when people
Yes.
have to join that aren't familiar with it,
Exactly.
it's difficult, you know.
Well, when you throw breakout rooms in, and then you start
Right.
doing, there's just so much that can be
Channels and all that kind of stuff. And,
Oh, yeah. So that's why I actually enjoy Google Meets. It might be simple, but sometimes simple's great.
That's right. Kiss.
Yeah, there you go.
Exactly.
What I hated about Teams was the chat functions. So when I was working, which is now almost a year ago, we used
Congratulations.
Teams for any of the video conferencing and Slack for everything else.
Wow. Yeah, I've been on Meet, GoToMeeting, and WebEx today.
I've tried them all, and 9 out of 10 of my presentations, of which I've done over 200 now, most of them have been on Zoom.
Yeah, they figured out the right algorithm and somehow just got on top of the game during the height of the pandemic. So, yeah. Cool. What else? There was Kevin Schmidt had shared something I can show here. Got us submitted into the ARL Club News. I'll drop a link into the chat here. Maybe into the wrong. Is that not gonna work? Talking about our in-person, our take on in-person meetings. Goes on to say, like other clubs during the pandemic, we had to ramp things down, and due to a lot of things, we really weren't able to meet up in person in a set location. But in lieu of that, we were setting up the DRC Saturday events. So for the last several months, we've hosted several events, either at the one location here, the Prospect Arena, and or done some other events as well, some Parks on the Air and things like that. So really do appreciate Kevin sharing that K0KPS, some club news. So yeah, check that out on arl.org. And thank you if you've been able to attend those. We may have shoehorned ourselves a little bit by calling it DRC Saturdays. I definitely know people are working sometimes on Saturdays, and next year we'll try to maybe hopefully open it up for some other days and events like that. So we definitely appreciate everyone who's been able to attend those. Okay, we have a few people here in the chat. Really do appreciate everyone being here. If anybody has any comments, questions about ham radio, STEM topics, any projects you're working on, or anything like that, let us know. See, I can bring up some things here. Let's see, what do I have here? I was briefly talking about this during our recent Wednesday night Learning Net. Quite a very old story from 1999. An electronics company called Ramsey Electronics was raided by, I can't remember which federal organization here, but they were a part of my youth, Ramsey Electronics magazines, electronics kit manufacturer of the 90s, early 2000s, and this is kind of a blow on a raid that occurred here. They were raided by the United States Customs Service for allegedly manufacturing and distributing electronic surreptitious intercept devices. They were basically making FM/AM transceiver kits, QRP, and a bunch of other basic soldering electronics kits. So this goes into kind of quite a lot of detail. Morning in the November 10th, radio equipment manufacturer was raided by Customs Service. In addition to building radio test equipment, also well-known vendor of electronic hobby kits used by organizations like Boy Scouts of America. So they were kind of ahead of their time, and I don't think the federal government really knew that this was just kind of an amateur operation, really. But yeah, I'll put a link into the chat here if you want to check into that. Pretty interesting company. I remember as a teen reading some of the magazines. Let me see if I can bring one up here.
Yeah, I made some of their stuff.
Yeah, I figure so. This seems like a lot of overlaps. So they're definitely gone now. I think someone else has taken over their name, but yeah, really cool company from back in the day. This is kind of what edged me into some of this hobby here. So yeah, this is a very old story, but pretty interesting to read into. Luckily, we have nowadays companies like SparkFun.com, based in Niwot, Colorado, as well as there are kits manufacturer, things like that, doing a lot of good for the community and things like that. And Ada Fruit in New York City. Great organizations, great for our hobby and for citizen science and amateur science and things like that. So luckily, we're able to experiment and build kits and things like that without issue. See, someone put something in the chat here. Let me make sure I'm looking at it.
Actually, I raised my hand.
Oh yeah, go right ahead.
At the last Hamfest, I think it was put on by something called the Denver Radio Club, I think was the name of the group. You may have heard of them.
Yeah.
I really didn't need much of anything, but I did pick up a couple of fun things. One I don't have handy, but I got some 2000 ohm headset in beautiful shape. Probably I got it dated from, I think, the early 40s. So 2000 ohm headsets are a little hard to find if you want to play with those. But a couple other things just to look at. Now, this is how you have meters when they're in oak boxes like that. This one also includes that little thing that I just moved there, locks the needle. I don't know what its sensitivity is. From what I've been able to tell, those are not microamps. Excuse me. At about 15 microamps, what this actually, the needle deflects, either way, by the way, it's obviously center, is about 6 or -6. This is put out by Leeds and Northrop, and from what I can tell, I cannot find this exact meter anyplace except I've seen it with Western Electric Wheatstone bridge sets from the 30s. But they're different because this one has 1,000 ohm movement. But it just, that oak is wonderful. The other one, some guy was selling, he got the meter and then he made a nice plaque for it to hang it on the wall just because it's classy looking. And everybody should have meters hanging on their wall. This one does work, by the way. It goes up to 250. I've only tested it up to 60 volts because I don't have anything handy to get up higher than that. I'm afraid solid state's done me in. But this is was a meter put out by the Joule Electric Instrument Company, which was purchased by Western Electric in 1931. And they made meters. Western Electric did put out some with the Joule Electric Instrument Company nameplate in 1932, but that's it. So that meter is 90 years old. but it's just neat looking. What the heck? That's what I picked up at the latest Ham Fest. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. I also picked up a carbon microphone. Again, it's mounted kind of pretty, little small carbon microphone that came with instructions. I've been able to find it. It was sold by several people. And what you did is you put between the plate and the grid of the detector and first audio amplifier and a 5-tube radio so that you could make your own PA system. So that thing was throwing out 120 volt, well, higher than that because it's not RMS, it would be peak. So 150 volts DC on this little wire through a microphone that you could hit the button and it would short out the, basically it would cut out the signal from the radio and turn your 5-tube radio into your own PA system.
Pretty slick.
Oh, it was. So there you go.
I've got a double button carbon mic someplace from the 20s.
I heard some recordings, new recordings of somebody that was using that.
Uh-huh.
I'll tell you what, it does sound like the old records.
Oh, yeah.
And any of the fancy audio filters that are trying to fake that sound.
I've got a picture of as he was called, Hubert Heaver or Herbert Hoover. You remember when he got called Hubert Heaver?
Yep.
Yep. Anyway, I got a picture of him talking on one of those double button carbons. And yeah, this one is in good shape, actually works fine. Sounds terrible, as they all did.
Yep. So there you are, Drone. I just thought I'd show you the swag I picked up.
Awesome. Appreciate saying that. Yeah, I like seeing some classic vintage equipment there. It's nice. Not everything has to be technically like a boat anchor or something, but some nice big chunk a little bit compared to some of the smaller stuff. And I was looking into that 2000 ohm headset and the reasons for using something like that. Or you want to expand on that potentially?
Yeah, it's where they're really handy is crystal radio sets. Because they have a high enough impedance that the very low signal that you're going to pull out of a crystal set will be able to drive them as long as you're not wearing hearing aids and it's not too loud. They also would work like in those little 1-tube radios because you wouldn't have to have necessarily. Bear in mind, this is dangerous as all get out because you're putting plate voltage around your head. But they used to run those on those little 1-tube radios because you wouldn't have to have an output transformer. You wouldn't have to go from the high impedance of the tube to 8 ohms for a speaker. And as I say, it's dangerous as all get out because you're running plate. Well, I guess those things would run plate voltage around 60 volts, something like that. They didn't tend to be very high. The B batteries.
Okay. I'll pretend to understand what you said there.
Oh, well.
No.
First off, I'll tell you about the batteries real quick because this is something you ought to know about. You have A, B, and C. The A batteries were the great big ones to drive the filaments. They were very low voltage, high amperage, and they often were dry cells. And they got used up real quick because those tubes took a pretty good chunk of power to light up that filament in them. Then you had the B plus, and that was the high voltage. Again, those could have been dry cells. In fact, the A batteries sometimes were lead acid. But the B voltage, and then in order to get a negative voltage for biasing things, you could actually have a C battery. Those were a little rarer, but you'd have a C battery that was wired down opposite on the ground side. You'd have ground and B plus, you'd have ground and C down here that you could use to bias things.
What I always wondered, Tom, is how did you know when the C battery was going bad?
I don't know because I never had anything with a C battery because, hey, grid leak biasing always worked.
My grids never leaked. Oh yeah, I remember them all.
So did that answer part of your question, sir?
Yeah, a little bit. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Perfect. Yeah, just through osmosis, I've been able to pick up on a few things over the last few years, but this is just a hobby of engineering, and there's a lot to pick up, so definitely really appreciate that.
So Tom, what were the common voltages of the B batteries?
Hang on just a second because we actually have a question, and that's from Ben Kreck, who's saying he doesn't have a mic, unfortunately. And he's looking for a local electronic supply store like Fry's or Radio Shack to stock basic components. And Ben, I'm sorry, I don't know of anybody local that stocks stuff on the component level.
Micro Center might be. Oh, sorry.
There used to be one out on East Colfax. Is it gone now? Or I'm trying to remember the name of it.
Jeff, we couldn't hear you.
There was one out on East Colfax that I think was the last man standing. I don't know if it's still in business or I can't remember the name of it.
Well, there was the one that was run by Fistel's son. It was Monaco and Colfax, and it's long gone. And then there was Jet Electronics that was East Colfax and Dayton. Not Dayton. Would have been like Geneva, something like that. Florence, Dayton and Florence. And they're long gone.
Okay. I think Micro Center has some resistors and things like that potentially that you can get. It might not be in the small quantity that you need, but I believe Micro Center might have some of that potentially. But that would be about it. Yeah.
I'm seeing Crum Electric Supply, 6260 Washington Street. I've never been there. I don't know if they have any electronics.
Ben, what you can do, watch out for semiconductors from our dear friends at Amazon, because a lot of those tend to be seconds or they're counterfeit. They're mismarked. So you have to be really careful about buying any of that stuff from the Chinese suppliers on Amazon. But when it comes to stuff like capacitors through hole, I'm talking about, which is generally what you want, or resistors, that sort of thing, that you can get entire sets for fairly inexpensive. So you can have enough to play with for a lot of years. As I say, capacitors, the inductors, you can get anything that you want for things like buck boost power supplies. They have that kind of inductor. Others are little ferrite cores that are wrapped, not toroids, but like that. And you can also get the ones that are they look almost like a resistor that are just wrapped wire. Those things you're going to be able to get. You don't have to worry too much about them being horrible knockoffs or whatever. Where you really come into trouble is if you try to buy like op amps. You can get a TL04, which is a fairly decent op amp, but what it really will turn out to be is an LM324 that's been remarked. And to be honest with you, if you want that sort of thing, you're probably you can play. Just figure that you're going to get some counterfeit parts on occasion. That, by the way, that's really true of eBay and Alibaba more than Amazon. But you can always go to DigiKey to get those things.
That's the best source.
Yeah, DigiKey is where you want to go if you want to have something decent. But and Jameco.
Yeah, Jameco's good too.
And they even sell, although it's pretty expensive, they sell a big cabinet with a whole bunch of mixed ICs in it, linear and transistors and stuff. And those are not, at least I haven't found them to be knockoffs.
Yeah, if you're a builder, open an account with the DigiKey. I buy all my components from DigiKey.
Yeah, good suggestion there. DigiKey, Mouser, some of those big names, absolutely.
Mouser and DigiKey online. Just buy it that way.
Yeah.
Get good stuff. You got to search like heck to find what you want, but it's there.
Yeah, you might be able to find something locally, but as they were kind of alluding to there, if you buy online, you'll be able to get a bunch of parts for very cheap, and it's a much better cost price. All right, Ben. Well, yeah, hopefully that they have a bill of materials manager as well. Jonathan Kane said there. I think that's maybe I forget who that is, maybe, but appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, if you're building a project and you want to put together a list of components, it's just an easy way to build all the components you need, and they'll source it out and give you the total cost bill of materials BOM there. Well, cool. Thanks for the follow-up there. Yeah, I don't know if I have any follow-up. Ben, let us know. The chat. I don't know if there was any other follow-up you wanted to give there, Tom. I think there might have been another question there, but if you want to go ahead, no
problem. John, I think 67.5 was a common B voltage.
That's right. Yeah. Was one of them. And the other one was?
It was like 135, but
they were not so common. 90 volts was the other common one.
Yep. Okay. And Ben came back.
Cool stuff. All right. Let's see. We have another 30 minutes. I appreciate everybody enjoying here. Again, if you're just joining us, this is the Denver Radio Club, Elmer Session, just a general Q&A about ham radio, science, STEM topics. If you have any projects you're working on or any questions you want to let us know on, just put it in the chat or over the audio conversation here.
I'm a little bit curious. How many of you guys out there are 3D printers? I got one hand.
Yep.
Well, I'm a very avid 3D printer. I just bought a new Prusa Mark IV. What a dream! What a dream machine that is. I've had every model of Prusa from a 2, a 3, a 3S, 3S Plus on 4. The 4 just blows them all away. It is an absolute marvelous machine.
It's got that great. It's got that a load cell built into it. It's great.
All sorts of things about it are all sorts of things about the Mark IV are miles ahead of the previous models. Even though it looks like the older models and uses the same frame and looks much like the 3, it's that new extruder and all that bed leveling stuff is wonderful.
Yeah, I heard they also I got an email saying they just released the input shaper firmware.
Yeah, I've got to put it up on my machine. I just got it out of the box, plugged it in, and away it went, and it's been chunking along. There's almost nothing you can do not to make it work right.
Yeah, I've been printing a bunch of K6ARK retractable paddles. Yeah. Adam Kimberly actually made a version of his paddles that he didn't release, but I got a hold of the STLs from him. And they're kind of like those Palm Picos, the ones that slide into their case.
Uh-huh.
So I've been printing them out for the folks on the POTA Discord and giving away for free.
I'll tell you something I have been working on in respect to you 3D printers out there, and that is filament welding, to weld the ends of the little ends of the spools that you always end up with when you're a 3D printer. You get down near the end and you don't want to print more. So there are quite a number of websites and other things and little devices you can buy supposedly to weld the little ends so you can not waste all your ends of the filament reels. Well, I've been working on it, and I think I've come up with some really good answers on how to weld filament. So I may have a presentation on that one in the future coming out. I got a couple of beautiful welds today, and I think I've got it down pretty pat. What do you got there?
3D printed chassis
Ah, that's neat.
with the old style
Oh yeah.
the capacitor.
My house is filled with 3D printed parts. Always printing stuff.
Sec. I'll grab
Yeah.
my Elecraft radio. Show off my 3D print.
Yeah,
My friend-
when I saw my first 3D printer in a radio club meeting, I said, I gotta have one of those. And I've had one ever since. Never regretted it. Best toy I've ever purchased. Yeah.
All right.
Yep. I saw one of those on Thingiverse the other day.
Oh, aren't they
Yeah.
fun?
Yeah.
This is the little paddle. It comes like retracted. It has little things on the bottom, and yeah. Then you got a Morse code paddle,
Oh, that's cool.
and then I
Well, I bet-
also do spool winders for antennas.
So many great things you can do in ham radio with a 3D printer. Anybody who's a builder and doesn't want one, I just don't understand it. To me, it's the perfect mate to 3D to building ham stuff.
Well, Anderson power poles, you can buy those blocks where you can have multiples.
Sure.
To heck with that. You can just go ahead and buy the power poles, but you can make a 3D printed,
Oh,
which is what I've done. A little case to hold them. Make my own power distribution block.
anyway, since I know the editor of QST quite well after having written 26 articles now for them, I've been trying for a long time to get them to become much more proactive in 3D printing. Even though Ward Silver and I conspired to write the 3D printing article in the latest 100th edition of the handbook, I still like to see the ARRL get much more proactive and kind of open their own version of Thingiverse specifically for ham radio 3D printing STL files. And instead of letting Thingiverse and some of the other people do it, but really concentrate on doing good 3D printing files for the printers, because it's just a perfect adjunct to ham radio operators who are builders.
Plus, it's customizable.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the portable ops, you have guy wires with your masts and stuff, and there's so many mast size. So you either have to hope that that whoever makes your mast, soda beans, whoever, will makes it, or you can just jump on FreeCAD and spend 5 minutes CADing up a little guy ring, and it's super easy.
Yep, I love 3D printing. It's the best toy I've ever owned.
I have been printing. I've been playing with Laura in the 932 megahertz. You know, the ILM band there, so it's low power. And I have been printing the booms to hold copper rods for Yagis for that frequency. So I've been making booms to hold everything. It's just so easy to do that.
Actually, forgot something else that I 3D printed. There's this new program that's been going around in the 3D printing scene called HueForge.
QForge?
HueForge, HUE.
Oh,
Forge. It lets you paint pictures. A sec, let me see if I can. That was 3D printed. I would show off more.
So
but
how
I
did
might
that
give them
start?
away. So you know how you can do color changes?
Yeah.
It does it like that. So at certain layers, you change out the filament, and it's using the a property where there's a different. It's using something called transmission distance. So, like if you have a sheet of white and you print and you change colors to like black or like a different color, one layer of that filament is going to be a different color than if it's 2 layers or 3 layers. So if you know
Sure.
about that, you can use the luminosity of the image to create a full-on image, or like a full picture.
So how did the picture there start? What was the original? Just something somebody drew on a piece of paper or what?
A friend of mine drew that, made that art piece, and gave it to me, and I turned it into a HueForge print.
And what software and stuff did you use to turn? Was his a
Yeah.
paper? It was his a paper drawing
She drew. I'm gonna say she drew it in Photoshop.
in Photoshop. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what my friend uses. She's a YouTuber.
Sure.
Yeah, that's one of her arts that she did, and yeah, and the software is called HueForge. It's like $20 now for a lifetime license to it.
I'll look it up. Always looking for good graphics software for
Well,
relatable to
it's
3D
not.
printing.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it'll let you turn an image into a 3D print, but it not really good for doing actual image editing. With that, I'd recommend GIMP.
And Jonathan, how do you digitize that into the printer? I'm not familiar with 3D printing. Does
So,
it somehow scan it? Do you somehow digitize it and then load it in? Or what?
so the HueForge will turn it into an STL file.
Which is the native printer file.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. I know that actually an old version of like one of the first 3D printing articles on QST actually got the STL, but they said they got it wrong. They said stereolithography, and that's SLA. That's a type of 3D printing, but actually STL stands for Surface Tessellation Language.
And then if you've got assuming a
Standard.
2D drawing, then how do you determine Z-axis stuff for it to create 3D, or how do you?
Yeah. So it's using luminosity, and there's a bunch of sliders in the program, and you adjust those sliders until it shows you a preview of what it would look like. And then once you've got those sliders adjusted, you get a height. It basically will tell you, it spits out 2 things. One is the STL file, and 2 is a text file with where the color changes are. And I believe Doron has got the page pulled up. And I think the creator does a better job of explaining it than I ever can. But because I'm still learning the software, it's kind of difficult to do color images.
And then does it give you a Z-axis measurement so you can kind of?
Yeah, so it'll say on layer number like 4, change from this color to this color, and also like what it'll say what layer number and what Z height you need to set your changes on. And if
Cool.
you're using a slicer like Prusa, like the Prusa slicer, once you slice it, on the preview, it has an option where you can insert color changes.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a really cool piece of software, and I've seen it do full things. I did one with Grogu from Star Wars.
I need less to do, not more to do. I don't think that's in my future.
Yeah, it's also kind of in development still. He's still working on it. The development is right now. I've been trying to push them to get the Linux version made. He just released the Mac version. Yeah, that's all I got.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 3D printing has changed the game for a lot of us in a lot of different hobbies. So additive manufacturing, it's really awesome to see at hobbyist level. And yeah, 2014, 2013 or so, the rep projects and Prusa projects and things started to come around, and seems like things have matured quite a bit within the 3D printing industry, which is good to hear. And that Mark IV looks pretty cool. I don't know if it can do metals or whatnot, but
And it's just standard. It's your standard fused filament fabrication.
Yep. Okay.
3D printer. It's very similar to its brother, the Mark III, but it's got a bunch of things that it's been improved with. The main thing that I like about it is that the Mark III has a load cell built into the extruder, so it uses pressure on the nozzle to detect when it's hit the bed. Which means no more. One of the things you had to do to dial in your printer with the Mark III, which honestly wasn't that big of a deal, was you had to do what's called live Z adjust to get that first layer perfect. And that live Z value differs depending on what build plate you are, because there's different build plate materials, whether it's like a smooth PEI, a powder texture. And it's convenient because with the Mark IV, I don't have to worry about that, so it's perfect every time, and it gets it perfect no matter what sheet I use, because I change between if I'm printing on PETG, I use my powder coated, and if I'm on PLA, I use the smooth one.
John, you're on mute.
Yeah, the Mark IV is an amazing improvement over all of the earlier Prusias. I've had every version since 2.
Well, I had the Mark III's, but I sold it to another ham.
I have a Bamboo Carbon X1.
That's a good printer too.
So there are good printers out there. The Prusa is just one of the best.
However, I thought I would show you something else that's 3D printed.
Yeah.
The shoe?
Yeah. Actually, it is my shoe.
Ah,
I have one more toy that I just got.
you have a scanner?
I have a scanner.
Yeah. I got to get a scanner one of these days.
There's my scanner.
Ah,
So
wow, so that can do a 3D scan. Do you have it on a turntable thing or something? Or?
for the shoe, it was easier to do a turntable, but if I want to do a bust of you for posterity, I can just move it around.
That's pretty cool.
And it comes with, there's a scanner. It comes with a thing that holds your cell phone if you're going to use a cell phone as your source, or you can use a computer with a USB cable, USB 3. But this one allows you to hook it together, and then this is actually a power supply because the scanner takes a lot of juice. So if you're using with your phone, this will power the scanner to give you a cable, so you're not taking it off of your phone. So if you want to have your bust captured for posterity, let me know.
I remember years ago there was Connect.
Yes, yeah, the Microsoft Connect. There's definitely some projects that still support it, but
yeah, I remember back in high school we took an old Xbox 360 Connect and modified it so that we could hook it up to a PC. And there was this program called ScanEct. We used an Xbox 360 Connect to 3D scan people, and we used that as a demo at the school for students and stuff. It was a lot of fun back when I was in high school.
This one will get down to a 1/10 of a millimeter of accuracy. So the reason I really truly got scanners not to do busts of Jerome or even Jerry. You know, we could do one for Jerry. At the next Ham Fest, we could have a nice big bust of Jerry sitting there. But anyhow, the reason that I got it was I've been doing some part replacement type stuff, And there are times on some of the complex curves and stuff where it's just easier to scan it and clean it up rather than go under FreeCAD and start fresh.
Why did you pick that particular one?
Price.
And which one is that?
Oh, that's the Creality Ferret. They just
Reality?
came out with. They're coming out with a Ferret Pro. Naturally, that's a little fancier.
Very cool. Yeah, it's something like that. What Jonathan mentioned, kind of early demos of 3D scanning and 3D printing is scanning someone in and then 3D printing it out. So yeah, it's awesome to see that we have fairly entry-level availability into that entire process here now.
Well, for those of you who'd like a little introduction to 3D printing, I've written a whole chapter in the, along with Ward Silver, in the 100th edition of the ARRL handbook, so you can get the basics there about what the files are and what they do and what STL means and what FDM printing and resin printing and all that means. In case you're a little more curious, it's all there in the handbook.
Yeah, and as like you were mentioning before, it'd be nice if the ARL really fully encompassed the maker movement and the STEM community, because there's a lot to it, a lot of overlaps with ham radio. So it'd be awesome to see full integration with that at some point. Yeah.
Well, hams are generating an incredible number of very printable devices for ham radio. And why not? Why not just be a reservoir? All they got to do is dedicate a portion of their website to it. And you go over to ARRL.3D print, and you can sort through it like you do on Thingiverse or any of the other sites. But these are all ham radio oriented objects.
Yeah, that would be nice. Keyers, mounts, plenty of customization options to make your life easier with some of the equipment that you might have. So that would be nice to see. Yeah. Well, cool. We have another 10 minutes. I don't know if anybody has anything else. Again, this is the Denver Radio Club Elmer Session, just a general Q&A about ham radio, as you've heard us talking about whether it be 3D printing or sourcing electronic components, things like that. There's plenty of stuff to talk about. So we have another 8 minutes or so. And if anyone has anything, let us know.
Anybody had any recent problem with two mouse cursors appearing on your screen at the same time out of nowhere? I've got two mouse cursors on my screen now, and one of them sits there and does nothing. The other one works, but it kind of dithers and I can turn it off, and then it comes back on again. Something is turning it back on. I use multiple monitors, but nobody seems to know how to really get rid of the dumb thing.
Yeah, unless you have multiple mice plugged in or devices that act like a mouse.
No, I only have one mouse. It's a Bluetooth mouse. I'm going to try turning it off and trying a cabled mouse and see if that makes any difference.
Huh. Is it just in your browser, John, or is it in other applications? Or
it's there all the time, all the time. It's if I'm looking at my screen right now, my Microsoft Bluetooth mouse is the one that's working. And when I move it around, it dithers as I move it. It works. It does everything it's supposed to. But over on the upper left of the screen is another identical cursor, which also dithers as I move the mouse, but it doesn't go anywhere and nothing controls it. It's just there. And it makes the other one dither, which makes it kind of unhandy to use. I use it. It works, but it's awkward. I don't like it. I'd like to turn it off. Now, I did a restore and went back one step, and it got rid of it. And I thought, oh, boy, I fixed it. And then a day later, there it was back again. Something is turning it back on again.
How does your mouse communicate via Bluetooth to your computer? Is there a USB dongle stuck in there, or how does it communicate?
No, there's no. It's just communicating with the Bluetooth in my laptop.
I wonder if there's two instances of it activated somehow.
I don't know.
I would go in and look at your drivers and see if you might have duplicate drivers.
Could be.
Might have to
Or you
strip them out.
You can look at your Bluetooth devices that are paired and see if it somehow or another it managed to get paired twice.
A lot of sites are suggesting that if you're running multiple monitors, which I do, I have another monitor which I plug in from time to time through a USB port, and they say sometimes it thinks it's got another screen open and wants to use, and I guess there is a feature in Windows 10 and 11 by which you can use multiple mice on your computer at the same time. 2 users can have a mouse on the same computer, but I guess we're playing games or something like that. But it's called just multiple mouse cursors. But I've tried turning it off, both right down in the hardware. But I can't figure out how to get rid of that thing permanently. Keeps coming back. Some software somewhere is turning it back on again.
If you right-click on your background screen and click display settings, it should show you how many screens that.
You mean on the desktop?
Yeah.
Let me minimize this and try that.
Does it just show two screens?
I'm looking at my desktop. I'll right-click on the desktop, and then what? Display settings.
Right.
Okay. And then what?
And how many screens does it show in display settings?
Display settings.
It says system display, and then like mine has 1 and 2. I have 2 screens.
Display resolution, display orientation. I see multiple displays.
But up at the top, it normally shows you like a 1 and a 2 or just 1.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I don't know where that's showing. That's showing anywhere. Advanced display. Adjusting full screen brightness, screen orientation, multiple monitors, graphics, advanced display. I don't see where I can find that.
If you click on advanced display settings,
okay, advanced display.
then you see where it says choose display, and there's a drop down box.
No, I don't see a choose display. Display 1 internal display.
Looks like you've got 2 displays there.
This is mine. I'm sharing my screen in Windows 10.
I'm in Windows 10, and
I'm in Windows 11, so
it looks basically the same. It's pretty close.
Yeah, I know they're close, but anyway, well, that's interesting. I can explore some of that later on.
Yeah, that's too bad to hear. Yeah, a lot of us are in IT for quite a while, and I at least have never heard of that happening before.
Yeah, it's a funny one. I can move the one cursor from my Microsoft Bluetooth mouse right up next to the other one, and it's identical, but the one doesn't move, and the one does move. And when I move the one, it dithers. Both of them dither, as if they're switching back and forth rapidly from one to the other. And the one that moves works, but it's a little more difficult to get it positioned when it's dithering.
When's the last time you changed the oil?
Last time I did what?
Changed the oil.
Well, I didn't change the filter. Maybe that's it. Okay, well.
Is the other mouse associated to your mouse pad on your laptop?
I have the mouse pad disconnected.
No, that might be.
I hate the mouse, the pad on the laptop. I keep getting my thumb in it, and I never like those pads anyway. So I usually turn them off or disconnect them. I unplug the one on this laptop.